Hello, and welcome to the second lesson in the course Moving Past the Basics. Today we'll be covering the second part of our Introduction to Tactics. So, we'll be covering more advanced exercises today. So, let's start with the discovery. Now, for the discovery, there are two kinds, discovered attack and discovered check. A discovered attack occurs when a piece moves, and in doing so, uncovers an attack on an enemy piece. And I'm going to illustrate this with an example. So, in this opening position, this opening is known as the French defense. This pawn, if you calculate it, has 1, 2, 3 attackers, the pawn on c5, the knight on c6, the queen on b6, and it has 2 defenders, the pawn on c3, and the knight on f3. So, judging from that, it seems like black should be able to take this pawn. However, there's a hidden defender, and this defender is realized in the form of a discovery. So let's play it out and see what happens. So if black captures the pawn, white captures back, black captures on d4, white captures on d4, and finally black captures the knight. And here, it seems like black has gotten away with it. However, here's where the discovery comes into play. When the bishop moves to b5, it uncovers an attack on the black queen, while delivering check. As the check takes precedence, black must either block it, capture the piece, or move away. But in all of these scenarios, he has no time to defend his queen. So this would be the example of a discovered attack on the queen. So black has to move away, and white can happily capture the queen. So let's look at another example, a much more basic one, where there's only a few pieces on the board. If we had something like this, then you could also have a discovered check here now. So before, the bishop was moving away, and it was discovering an attack on the queen. In this case, when the king moves away, there's a discovered check on the opponent's king. So here, the king can move to the side to d2 and attack the rook, but again, the black king's in check. So he has to deal with this, and the rook is captured. So this is an example of a discovered attack or a discovered check. In the next example I want to show you, I want to talk about removing the defender. So in removing the defender, your opponent's piece is defending something, whether it be from checkmate, another piece, etc. So here we're going to illustrate an example where you can remove the defender, forcibly so, and force your opponent to deal with more than one problem at once. So let's play through a few moves here. And this is one of the and this opening is called the Caro-Kann. So as you play through a few moves, we're going to reach a position where white has the opportunity to remove one of black's defenders. And here, let's take a look. What is this knight defending? This knight is defending this pawn, which is attacked by this bishop and queen. So the bishop and queen line up at a battery along the b1, h7 diagonal, and this queen would love to take on h7, where it would be checkmate to the king. However, this knight is defending this pawn. So what can white do? He can remove the defender. And he can do this by taking the knight on f6 with his bishop. And once black responds, then white is free to take this pawn that was formerly defended by the knight, but it isn't anymore. And this is checkmate. So that's removing the defender. Now, let's look at our last tactic for the day, which is deflection and decoy. And this sounds exactly like what you think it would be. What one side is trying to do is distract one of the opponent's pieces from doing one of its duties. So let's look at a position where you can either deflect or decoy one of black's pieces. So we'll start off with a pretty simple position. And in this position, white can do something very spectacular. He can distract one of black's most important pieces here, and that is this pawn on f7. What white can do is he can bring his knight to e6, trapping black's queen. You can see that the queen can't go anywhere. So what happens is black is compelled to take this knight, because otherwise he'd lose his queen, but this knight is actually a decoy. He's actually not that interested in that queen, he's interested in the king. So what this f7 pawn does is that blocks this very important diagonal right here, the h5 e8 diagonal. and this would leave the king very vulnerable to checkmate if this f-pawn was gone. So let's say he takes the knight. Now, white can deliver a crushing blow with queen h5 check, and this king has nowhere to go. All he can do is play g6. After queen takes g6, it's checkmate. So this knight on e6 was a decoy. It was a distraction for the f-pawn. And once it relinquished its duties of protecting the king, white swooped in with his queen. Now, remember what I said in a previous lesson on how tactics are intertwined. I'm going to show you an example where removing the defender and distraction and decoy are closely intertwined. So, you can see the same battery again over here, attacking h7. But now, white can use something called a decoy and place his knight right here on d5. Now, what does that do? So, first thing, he's attacking the queen. And the second thing he's doing is distracting this knight from performing its duties. This knight has to stay and defend this h7 pawn. But this knight's also attacking it. So at this moment, this knight is acting as a decoy. But as soon as the queen moves away, then you can perform the removing the defender tactic and take this knight on f6 and follow it up with checkmate on h7. So this tactic was twofold. It started off as a distraction or a decoy, and it finished as removing the defender. So this is an illustration of how tactics can be closely intertwined. Thank you for watching this video. Now go ahead and have some fun completing the exercises.